Hi, everybody. Welcome to CCFLT 2021 Virtual Spring Conference, Languages from the Get-Go. My name is lvilladoniga, and I will be presenting a session titled Reading Strategies for Spanish Language Classrooms Using Authentic Literature. I am bilingual and bicultural. My parents were both born in Spain, so I grew up speaking Spanish, and in fact, didn't know English until I started school. I married a Spaniard, so of course Spanish was part of our house then too. And we had two children, both of whom are bilingual and bicultural. And I have three grandchildren who are mostly bicultural and some more bilingual than others. But we're trying. Hacemos la lucha. We speak to our grandchildren in Spanish as much as possible. Encourage them to watch Spanish TV and read Spanish books and or books in Spanish. And I'm just an advocate for bilingualism. Please copy down the Gmail account, my email account, because that way, if you have a question, shoot me an email, and I respond to emails very quickly. I'd also like to hear from all of you, what you liked, what you didn't like, suggestions, ideas that you come across, looking at the way things were presented, or coming up with another use for the graphic organizers that are presented along with the articles, which, by the way, come from a textbook titled Bitácora, which is published by Difusión. They have offices in Barcelona and in Madrid. I am fortunate in that I work with them we are producing another textbook for high school level titled The Reporteros, which should be on the market at some point this year, 2021. We have pretty much finished level 1 and are working on level 2. All righty, in the URL, which I've given you there, you will find a PDF of an extended PowerPoint with much more detail than what you will see during the presentation, as well as a list of, or a copy of all of the articles. Again, if you care to use them, you may, but you must give Difusión complete credit for them. And several graphic organizers, more than what we're going to touch on here. Okay, so take a few minutes, get the copies of the articles and the graphic organizers so that you can use them and make notes while I'm talking. Okay, go get them and I'll be back in a few. Hi again. Okay, these are the graphic organizers that you will be getting from the drive. And some of them we will be using. They have asterisks by them. Those are the ones we're going to look at, but I believe that I've given you copies of others as well. Okay, we're going to start with the cooperation clock. Some of you may have seen the cooperation clock previously, and some of you may not have. I gave each student one copy of this, usually the second week of school, so that numbers had been adjusted and there wasn't as much coming and going and changing of schedules and stuff. Things had calmed down enough so that I wasn't going to have to redo this 2 weeks down the road, okay? And this is what you do. You give them each a copy. First thing, put your name on it. Then, if you have 24 students or fewer, this works great just as is. If you have more than that, which is the norm for foreign language classes, you might want to start doing half hours. Okay, so this is what you do. You tell your kids to get up, and they're going to be milling around, and I see that Maria is standing over there in the corner, and I go to Maria and I go, "Hey, Maria, I want to be your 1 o'clock appointment, okay?" And she goes, "Oh, sure." So I write Maria next to my 1 o'clock, and she writes Linda next to 1 o'clock. Then I stop Tomás. "Hey, Tomás, las dos?" "Muy bien, sí, vale, cómo no." He writes Linda and I write Tomás, and we go around the clock until all of them are filled. Now, when it gets down to just a couple, you might run into a problem because kids I don't know how it doesn't work out better, but I've never had a class who has done it exactly right, where there has been no one left out and everyone has an appointment. I don't know. But anyway, I use those. I bet you I use the cooperation clock every single day, unless it was a test day, an assessment day. But otherwise, you can use them for think, share, pair activities. You can use them for reviews. You can use them for speaking activities, for practice activities. I mean, there's just so many uses for this. And I'm going to show you how to use the cooperation clock with the strategies that we're going to look at today. Again, there are many, 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 many uses for cooperation clocks. And when you come up with an idea, please let me know so that I can share it out with the group. We're going to start out with the KWL, which is known as SQA, SQA en español. What you know is lo que sabes, lo que sé. What do you think you will learn? Lo que quiero aprender o lo que creo que voy a aprender. Y what did you learn? Lo que aprendí. Now, the first K, the K, you do as a pre-reading activity. It activates a student's prior knowledge. This, the W, you do as a collaborative effort. And the L, first they do it alone, and then they do it in a group so that they have a broader knowledge. You can, once they've done the K by themselves, I usually have them get together with a partner or even a group of 4. You can lump 2 1 o'clock appointments together, for example, 2 groups. And they get this filled out a little bit more. Once that is filled out, and that might be all you do that day, other than you might have another activity plan. But for this particular article, this might be the only letter you get to. Once they've had a chance to work alone, work with a partner or a group, then I got the whole class back together again, and they compared answers with me. Not with me. I was the recorder. They called out answers. If there was something that I thought they should know but didn't know, then I might say, well, what about, and see if that, oh yeah, of course, you know. Same thing with the W and the L. Work alone, work with a group, work as a class. Okay? Again, questions, shoot me an email. The article we're going to use for that is la siesta. Now for this, there are 2 parts. So you might want to do part 1 and part 2 on separate days. I was never one to try to overwhelm the students. I would rather change activities because the attention span is like a gnat these days. And so if you change activities every 10 or 15 minutes, I always thought that you got more accomplished. Now, some days you can't. If it's a review day, it's a review day. You might want to change the way you review things and break up the groups in different ways, but you know, but in the normal day. Okay, so the first part of this article is about, it's all about la siesta. The first half of the article is talking to 5 different people at different stages in life. And it talks about whether they take a siesta or not, tells why they do or don't. And you might come, when they finish that part, they will already be ready to fill out the W part. What did I learn? Not everybody takes a siesta. It's not as common as I thought, whatever. Then the second part is ¿qué es la siesta? So that's something else that they're going to learn about. Necesitamos la siesta, we need a siesta. And la siesta, realidad o leyenda? Is it true or is it a legend? And then they have more information to fill out their charts. You're going to find that they learned quite a bit from this pretty simple article. Okay, that's that one. Okay, uses of KWL. Here we go again, cultural topics. You can use it with topics that are in AP, CIE, or IB topics for their exams. I've given you a couple. Verb tenses. If you're going to present, let's say, the preterite, you might want to say, what do you know about past tenses? Or what do you know? And you might want to ask them what they know about past tenses in English, so they can make a connection. And there's other uses for KWL. The list goes on and on. Okay, then we're going to talk about making predictions. That's number 2, making predictions. You're going to use this chart, prediction chart. Okay, and you're going to use it in conjunction with this article titled Viajeros Gourmets. Okay, now the front is the article. The back has pre-reading, during reading, and after reading strategies or activities for you to use or not. I find them practical, and you know, a reading teacher will tell you that you have to have pre-reading, during reading, and after reading activities because of where the student is in the process. So for the pre-reading, it says, using the prediction chart, tell the students to read the title of the article and look at the pictures. That's all they have to do. Are they going to do any reading? Not really. Tell them to use the prediction chart to predict what they think the article is about. Okay, so the title is Viajeros Gourmets. They should realize that that has something to do with food. And if they didn't realize that the title has something to do with food because they've never seen gourmet, then, you know, they can look at the pictures and, oh, we're talking about food and drink. That's their prediction, that the article is about food and drink. Okay, then they should answer these questions. ¿Sabemos lo que se come en Argentina? ¿Hay alguno de ustedes que haya comido comida argentina? That should tell them that we're talking about food from Argentina. That's another prediction they can make, okay? Then during the reading. And this, again, you might want to do just that part one day. Put it away for another day or a couple days, whatever it is. Then go to the during reading part. You say, mientras leen el texto, busquen ideas relacionadas con estas imágenes. That's on the back. So what they're going to do is look at the picture, and as they're reading, and they're not in the same order, as they're reading, they're going to say, oh, let's see, that picture, that first picture there, I see raviolis, and I see spaghettis, and I see gnocchi. Okay? And you answer the question, what's the picture of, where is it eaten, and where did it originate? Those 3 things. And then la barbacoa, and then alfajores, and then porotos blancos, which is the way that white beans are called in Argentina, yerba mate, and empanadas. And you do that for all 6 pictures, or they do that for all 6 pictures. That's while they're reading. They're making association, okay? Then after reading, tell the students to finish the prediction chart, which says, in this case, what actually happened, but you can change it to what actually was it about, or what did I learn? You can change the heading any way you wish. And tell them to compare answers with an appointment or within a group, and then come back, please come back again and tie it up as a class session, okay? You don't want to leave them with uncertainties. So the best way to do that is to come back as a class. All right. So here's some information about making predictions. It encourages active reading. It keeps students interested because they're thinking, I've got to read to find this out. How to make predictions, things to write, things to use to make predictions. And it's amazing the number of things that students can use. You write down predictions about the text as you're reading. You look for words or phrases from those predictions or that support or not support your prediction, your hypothesis, and then you revise your predictions or you make new ones as you're reading. Okay. Vocabulary development. Okay, we're going to talk about context clues. Everybody knows about context clues, but kids don't. Kids think that they have context clues in English, but that doesn't work in Spanish, and of course it does, or in German, or in French, or in Italian, or in whatever language it is. But these are some things that you can do to help them gain confidence in finding context clues and defining a word and not just going, I can't understand anything I'm reading. If I said this, I beg your pardon for repeating it. If I didn't say it, it needs to be said. I took a 1-week AP seminar workshop with whom I think is the guru of AP, Jose. And one of the activities we did was he gave us an article in which words or phrases had been blacked out. And we looked at it and we said, Señor Díaz, why are these, or Don Jose, why are these words blacked out? And he said, you'll see. That's what he said, you'll see. So he said, okay, read the article. So we're reading, and of course you can't read what's blocked out, right? What we discovered was that while those words were important to the author, they were not important to the comprehension of the article. So, another strategy for understanding and using vocabulary. I encourage you to read everything you expect the students to read, unless it's a project, okay? Unless they're reading something for a project or for pleasure. But if it's for something that they're going to be doing in class, for which they will be held responsible, and comprehension and communication are the keys in any language. Look at it, cross out words and phrases that are not important to the meaning to the comprehension of the article. Don't bog kids down with extraneous information, okay? Remember, they are learning a language. And we want them to enjoy learning a language and want to keep learning the language. And if they're confronted with a bunch of words and expressions and information that is extraneous, I lose interest quickly. Whether I'm reading in English or in Spanish makes no difference. If there's a bunch of stuff if it's a long-winded article that has nothing to do with the premise, then pretty soon I go, okay, and I start skimming. Now that's a strategy that we learn. The older we get, we learn to, okay, well, I don't think I need to know that. And that's where underlining and circling comes in handy. But right now, you need to do it for the student. And who better equipped than you to determine what will be important to their comprehension and what will not. The other thing that's important is the opposite of that. To circle or highlight or box words or phrases or information that is vital to their comprehension. Why? Because it shoots it out to their eyes. That's where their eyes are going to be drawn right away. And if they understand those words and phrases and ideas, then they will understand the whole of the work. You might want to spend a day or a part of a day going over the words that you've highlighted or boxed or squared, and make sure that they all understand. And then you can use something like a vocabulary word map or another vocabulary graphic organizer. But with this one, you write the vocabulary word or phrase in the middle, and then the definition in their own words. So you talk about it, you get them into groups, they use context clues, blah, 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 blah. And then they write a definition in their own words, okay? Why? Because it helps them remember what it is. Then synonyms, that might be the other stuff that people have said, okay? Then it's use it in a sentence. And finally, draw a picture if you can. Not every word or phrase can be illustrated. But if it can, or if a student can find a way to illustrate it, I'm amazed when my grandson does this in 3rd grade. They're given their vocabulary words throughout the week. They have a test every 2 weeks on 10 vocabulary words. So for a period of like 6 school days, they go over maybe 2 words apiece. And as they do that, they fill out a chart similar to this that says synonyms, antonyms, and a sentence, and then an illustration. Now, again, not everything can be illustrated, but I'm fascinated by some of the illustrations that he has come up with to remember that word that I would never have thought. But in his mind, that was the connection. So, as long as they remember the word, we all learn differently. Okay. Tells you how to use context clues, how to tell them how to use context clues if they think they don't know. Keeping a vocabulary notebook, that's very important. I always had my students keep 2 composition books. One was for vocabulary, and they would write the word in the front page, and maybe that's where their illustration was. And then in the back, because I only gave them this once, they would draw the same chart or the same graphic organizer for every word that I wanted them to do, and it was on a different page starting from the back. So you met in the middle somewhere. The other composition book they had was for everyday stuff like grammatical explanations or I don't know, articles that they read, summaries of articles, or you know, anything else that was there. They also had binders to keep their articles in and things like that, so that it was nice and clean and tidy. There are 4 types of context clues. We've already kind of gone through that. And these are the graphic organizers you can use for context clues. We are going to talk about another one here, I think, before we do that. Let's talk about the word map again, but in relation to the article called Vives o Estresas. Now here, the first thing I would do is what I told you to do. Do as I say and do as I do. I could go through, and anything that was important for them to know, I would circle or highlight. Circles work better, so it doesn't, you know, comes out if you print it. And I would black out anything that was not important. What's important to me may not be important to you. What's important to you may not be important to me. So it's descripción del consumidor. Anyway, you give them this, and you can do that on a word map so that they're talking about vives o estresas, and the article talks about ways in which you can decide whether you're working and being stressed or working and not stressed. So it talks about the first question is vives o estresas. There's a little bit of a, you know, 2 paragraphs there. Choose the words that you want them to know, eliminate the words that aren't important, and then they can do it, work with the cooperation clock, and then a group, and then a whole class, so that we can make sure that they understand what they've read, okay? And then the second part of that is cómo luchar contra el estrés. And it gives you 10 ways to eliminate stress in your life. And so they can use that. There are other graphic organizers you can use for this as well, but this one works pretty well because it can be a concept map as well. Then the ABC brainstorming is just what it looks like. You talk about a topic, and they fill in the squares with words that have to do with that topic. Let's say you're doing Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. Well, for A, you might have altar or atole. For C, you might have Katrina or calavera or tempusichas. I can't ever say that word right. For F, fuego, because they do light a fire at the cemeteries. Cementerio for C. A ver, esqueleto for A. I don't know. Anyway, you know, you can use that for that, and that brings those words to mind, because by the time kids are in 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, and they've talked about Day of the Dead, they have a wealth of vocabulary that they can use. Okay, so you can use that for that. You can use it for anything. I used it one time for different types of energy. And if they didn't know the word exactly, they could draw a picture, you know, or they wrote the word in English, and then we talked about it and did it that way. Another definition map is this one. It's a little bit more detailed in that the term is here, or the phrase, and then what it is, what it's like, and examples. So it's kind of employing all of your senses at once. Okay. The next one is, and that just explains it, main idea. We're going, for this one, we're going to use ciudades extraordinarias, and there are Huh. Yes, right. I have two examples for main ideas. Ciudades extraordinarias, you're going to use this graphic and this reading, and they're going to need to make three. They're going to need 3 copies of this because 3 cities are spoken about. So in the first one, we'll start with the first one. La segunda metrópoli de Norteamérica es México DF, however you've explained it to the students. The who is, let's see, who founded it, and then who conquered it. The what is it, and it tells there about what it is. Where it is, tells you where it is. It tells you when. It tells you why. And I'm not sure if it tells you how, but anyway, so that's about La Ciudad de México. Then you do another one like this for Ushuaia, and another one for Potosí. And then they have graphic organizers, visual graphic organizers for the 3 cities. What can you do with that? Well, you can have them do a compare contrast after that. You can have them do a chronological timeline. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. The other one will use Córdoba, Ciudad para Pasear. And if you have not been to Córdoba, España, I encourage you to do so. It is a beautiful city. My mother was from the provincia de Córdoba, which, you know, draws me in, but it is truly, the old part especially is like one of my favorite cities in the world, in the top 3 for sure. There is a before reading, there's a before reading, during reading, and after reading activity to go along with this. So what you want to do here is give them the cluster word, because it doesn't have to be a word, it can be a concept. They will need, and this is perfect because there are 4 things, the topic is Córdoba, and there are 4 things that are talked about in the article. Que visitar, fiestas y festivales, donde dormir, and clima. They will need to add a third circle for some of them. Que visitar, for example, it tells you that there are 3 places you should visit in Córdoba, for sure. The rest, I mean, gosh, everything is right there, but you should visit La Mezquita de Córdoba, you should visit Medina Azahara, and you should see the Patios Cordobeses. So that's why you need another one, okay? And then the festivals, it tells you, it gives you 3 festivales, so you need a third one. Donde dormir might only be 2, and clima, probably the 2 will do. And then there's the sabías que, which, you know, is a good follow-up. So that's what you would use with that for main idea, because Córdoba is the main idea, but then you have all these other things. And, you know, you can draw circles after circles. So here where it said Mezquita, for example, que visitar Mezquita, you might have a couple of circles coming out from there saying Catedral, Sinagoga, Mezquita, because that's what it was originally. When it was built, I mean, you can use this any way you wish and for as much information as you wish. Okay, then I have two more graphic organizers to give you. Tell you about main idea. There you go. The who, what, when, where. Okay, then the Venn diagram. We've all used Venn diagrams. Every student has used the Venn diagram. You can use it for comparing and contrasting, almost anything. Contrast Spanish and English. Compare and contrast English and Spanish. Compare Christmas in the United States with Christmas in a Spanish-speaking country. Compare Halloween and the Day of the Dead. Compare renewable energy in Spain and renewable energy in Costa Rica. The list is endless. Okay, so use that. If you're going to contrast or come up with cause and effect, then I suggest you use the T-chart. And you put the topic in here, whatever it is. Okay, so that's compare and contrast. And if you're going to use cause, you can use it for cause and effect, and it tells you how to distinguish between cause and effect. Really hard to teach kids cause and effect. And if it's hard in their own language, you can only imagine how hard it is in a second language. And it's important because on the AP test, when they have to compare and contrast, they are going to have to know how to compare and contrast. They're also going to have to know how cause and effect sometimes. So it's important that we give them the skills that they need to be successful. Thank you for choosing my session. I hope you've learned a lot, or at least something. Please keep in touch. Send me an email. Tell me what you liked about the session, what you didn't like about the session, what I could do better. Ideas or articles that you come up with, a graphic organizer that you have found that's short, sweet, to the point of what you're doing. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Look at my website, which I'm updating not as often as I'd like. And I even have some Pinterest boards that might help you or interest you. With that, thank you so much for being part of the CCFLT 2021, oh my gosh, 2021 Virtual Spring Conference, Languages from the Get-Go. Have a great year and hope to see you face to face at some point. Ciao, ciao.